So we have about half an hour to have the folks who are on the National Executive Board, as well as the 2 additional officers, to ask some questions to. I've prepared some questions in advance to get us going, but at any time, please, I invite you to come up to the microphone that's in the center of the room and direct a question to any one of the members. So, Jeff, I think we'll start with you. Where are you down there?
Right here. Can you
Good.
hear me
You
okay
even
with
have a
this?
microphone. Yep. Perfect. So, Jeff, in our revised National Executive Board model, the President's role has changed dramatically from what it was in the past. What would you say are the 3 things that you spend most of your time on nowadays?
Listening and learning, for sure. I'm blessed to be around guys like John and Bill Gilroy and our members at COPE 343, working with the office staff. It's a lot for me to take in right away. So right now, the first thing is listening and learning. That's what I'm doing the most of. The second thing is the operations of the office. So when Joe kind of presented the idea about thinking about becoming the president, I was a site superintendent down at OPG. But he reassured me I wouldn't have to travel too much, which was far from the truth. And so doing a lot of conferences, networking, and he said, we just want you to do a couple things, Jeff. One of them is bring our Constitution alive. It's a working document. Have the members catch up to it and understand the Constitution. The other thing was to run the office, be the manager of the office, essentially, make sure it's functioning, and then work on committees and units. That's what we want you to do. That's what the NEB has decided. And we all saw it in the model. But so the first thing would be, Janet, would be listening and learning. I spend a lot of that. I'm a sponge. I'm learning lots. The second thing would be operating the office, understanding the finances, making sure that checks don't bounce, and we get members participating in whatever we can get them out to do. Making sure, working with Craig Batty as well, the treasurer. And then the third thing would be the Constitution, working on bringing that Constitution alive.
Okay, great, thank you. John, can we go to you next? You've taken on the oversight of the relationships with the legacy employers, so specifically Hydro One, Bruce Power, and OPG. How does your role interact with the workplace stewards and the workplace health and safety reps who are already in the workplaces?
So to start, we're quite fortunate that Joe, Tom, when he did his introduction there, he spent 10 years up at the Bruce. Dennis Eddy, Bill Gilroy, Steve Gilroy. There's a good base to our collective agreements there, and the way that they function. There's a good, strong wording in the collective agreement. Now we have to turn our minds to the implementation of the participation model, the workplace participation model, and we look at that environment. There are many stewards, many health and safety reps. Tom talked about, some number of years ago we were direct hires with these companies. And through the efforts of the Growth and Opportunity Committee, the organizing committee, Joe's efforts in connecting with new employer partners, that grows that number. It becomes much more complex, right? You've got multiple stewards, multiple health and safety reps, lots of learning required, lots of face time that we need to have. When you look at those collective agreements, they've been there for many, many years. Lots of labor board decisions. When we look at jurisdiction with our other partners in the workplace, whether it's the maintenance unions or the other building trade unions, there's lots to learn around jurisdiction. Like I say, the structure that we've put into the collective agreements and the ideas around industrial democracy, there's much more opportunity to interact with management, but along with that comes the skills that those individual workplace representatives need. So it's a lot of time that we spend interacting with one another, whether it's face-to-face or on the phone, and encouraging them to lean on one another. Chad, for example, spends lots of times with the new stewards and the new health and safety reps that get elected. And that takes away from your evenings and your weekends. So, but that's just one example, right, of interacting with the folks and putting that idea of the participation model and industrial democracy out there.
So Craig, Tom, let's go to you next. Got a microphone down there? There should be two. Oh, okay. They were hogging them down this end. So Tom, you recently moved out west to Victoria, and other than enjoying a more moderate climate than you did in the Bruce, you've already told us about your role and about growth and opportunities, but what are you seeing as some of the challenges through your lens?
Yeah, I mean, some can look at the challenges, some can look at as opportunities. But one thing we find in the West is it's not, we don't, in Ontario we hear building trades. It's like you don't hear so much of that out West. It's what they call open shop. So contractors can have multiple unions that or not non-union working for them and whatnot. And I don't know that a lot of the members understand it, but our collective agreements with OPG, Hydro One, Bruce Power, what they call closed shop collective agreements, meaning you have to be members of CUSW to work in those places. It's not many of those left in Canada, and the open shop mentality's been rolling across the country for a while. And at some point, and maybe even the next government that's elected here in Ontario is going to open those doors up, so we don't even have to worry about our other friends. Everybody and their brother will be bidding and non-union. So I see it as an opportunity because we're built for open shop. We're built for multi-skilling and multi-trading and that, but understanding that that's coming and it's going to be in our workplaces at some point, and people need to be wary of that. The other thing that I see is demographics. The boomers are leaving the workforce in droves. I've seen a number there not long ago. I believe it's like 200,000 in the next short period of time. Most of the trades aren't replacing those people. A lot of them have 6-to-1 apprentice ratios, or even 3-to-1. You're just treading water, and we're finding it difficult. It's got real tight in Ontario for certain mechanical trades, and and not to steal any Chris's thunder, but we're finding that we have places we can attract opportunities is in the East, people that trades in the East and trades in Alberta. So even BC seems to be tightening up. So we have that, and then the other barriers that are coming, drug and alcohol testing. We're seeing, because when one of these employers come up with a stupid idea, they all seem to come up with a stupid idea. But now we know, psychological testing is potentially around the corner, and prescription drugs, and even finance, where you're going to have to disclose your bank accounts on certain types of work. We've seen that in some conversations early with employers. And some of the stuff we're talking with out west, there's new trends coming down the pipes when they start to negotiate with the other unions that, attempt to minimize your pension and benefits, cap them, right? So things like that are problematic. Yeah, and then because of the deteriorating work picture in some provinces, like one we seen in northern Saskatchewan, there through an association email, or another electrical union not only cut their wages, cut their holiday pay, no room board travel, no training allowance, and that in order to race to the bottom to win work. So if building trades are starting down that road, then that helps that others go that way, and that it's a race to the bottom, and that's stuff we got to multi-skilling, skill blending. Our model will keep our wages up, but that trend, when the first group starts lower wages, then it starts to take off. And I know some of these areas they're just trying to keep people working because how depressed it is. But once it starts, then where does it stop, right? So those are the ones I'm seeing right now. That and then also just building our capacity. That's going to be a barrier too. If we can't attract the people, we can't track the new technologies. and what we're doing with, you know, with SNA and with Chris Stevens, because we need to shift into that new type of work and away from construction and that, and we identify, we see it, we just got to put a plan in place that gets us there. So anyways.
Great. Thank you. Craig, do you still have that microphone? I do. Perfect. So you're the treasurer now. Are you good with numbers?
Reasonably good.
That's good. That's good to know. I think most of us believe that it's someone in the office, in the national office in Toronto, who processes expense claim forms and the like. So what exactly is your role?
Well, I look at every single expense claim form that comes through that office, and I sign off on the approval on it. So in an event like this, I'm going to have my next week is going to be very busy because I have to look at every single one of your expense forms. That's not the only thing I do. You know, I go through budgets. We have our national executive budget. I look at the committee budgets. I look at the unit budgets, and I have to be a master decipher sometimes to figure out what everybody's looking for in their budgets.
Okay. Kevin, you joined the National Executive Board this past year as the recorder. Now, it's been my experience at meetings that most people don't want to be the one to have to take the minutes. So why did this role interest you?
I guess I stepped into the role because I didn't think anybody else would want to do it. There was actually one other fellow that put his name forward, Paul Carnes. I've since met him. He's been an excellent person and provides a great service to our union. So if you guys ever see his name again, I'd recommend him if he. And then I guess it would have got me away from public speaking. I'm nervous as hell about public speaking, but that didn't really work out too well either. But all in all, it's been a pretty good learning experience. I've got a genuine interest in politics, and I wanted to see how our politics in the union were in relation to the politics that we follow federally and provincially in the country here. And it's been a great learning experience.
Okay, great. Thank you. Chris, do you have a microphone handy?
I do now.
Nice. So many people know that you already have your hands full with the annual fishing derby that you and Pat Smith and both of your wives diligently organize every year. That's a lot of work from what I've seen. Isn't that enough? Why be on the National Executive Board as well?
So if by a lot of work
Little
you
bit
mean, 80 adults and 40 to 50 kids, yeah, it's fun to organize. I do that because I'm a big believer in family and friends. It's nice to get our membership out, but it isn't enough. In my opinion, just supporting the fishing derby wouldn't guarantee a future for my family or for your guys' families or our community. And that's why I push hard and like to be involved in a lot of different things.
Okay, great. Steve? Got a microphone handy?
I do.
Excellent. I remember having a conversation with you back in 2007 when we first rolled out Take the Lead to workplace representatives. You said then that you wanted to move away from the role of workplace steward, and as I recall, I thought you said something like, I don't think anybody will ever take it over. I'm destined for life to be in this role. But you were determined that you wanted to make the transition onto the National Executive Board in time. Why was that?
Well, in 2007, I said that to you, Janet, and it was true because it took me another 7 years before somebody would fill the role as the workplace steward. It came a long way. The reason why I wanted to take the position was to, mentor the new stewards coming in and to offer my knowledge to them. So, and I believe in what the union was building, and I want to see how it moved forward than what was stuck into the workplaces. So as of today, that's what I'm doing. I still help the stewards out as much as I can. Right, buddy? And I try and support John in his role, too, because I'm in that workplace environment with these older clients, and here I am today.
So what was it about the NEB that made you want to make that shift?
Well, I just wanted to see the expansion of the union, because where I was in the workplace, I could see the workplace was growing, maturing, but I wanted to see the whole value, the whole extension of where Cuss W was going to be. And I was excited to see that.
Okay. Don? You were involved in the Bruce Unit Executive for many, many years. Why did you make the transition to the National Executive Board?
Well, I wanted to see Cuss W grow, and by going to the national, we'd have a better voice up at the Bruce. Help us grow there and help the people up at the Bruce.
Okay, are you still involved in organizing the golf tournament? I know you've done that in the past.
Yeah, 15 annual this year.
How many people did you have in that tournament this year?
Usually about 140.
That's great. So that's a lot of work, much like the fishing derby. And I know there are lots of golf tournaments across the province that happen. But why take on that extra work? Like, you were already doing the golf tournament and people loved you and they're like, hey, everybody knows Don. Don's a great guy. He gets great prizes for the tournament and all that. Why make that extra step?
On the day of the tournament, you see everybody having a good time, join each other's company. That's why I do it.
Yeah, and so why do you do the NEB part too? Isn't that enough, the golf tournament?
It's never enough. You're going to get involved, you get involved.
Okay. Joe, got a microphone? Somebody give him a microphone. There we go. Danger zone. Danger zone. Somebody
I'm
get the hook ready.
actually trying to work out of that, Scott.
Yeah. Get the hook ready. So, as past president, this is the first time in our history that we've had somebody in the past president role. What do you see as your role now?
Well, our Constitution is laid out so that the past president is here to assist in the first term when we have a transition over to another president coming in. And the past president works at the direction of the NEB, and whatever they think is my best role in contributing to the transition period. What I've been doing since the election is sort of providing the coach and mentor and helping to understand a little bit better what our structure is and how that structure then gets translated into going forward into the future. We as an organization are on a continuum. We started in '99, we're continuing through. And it's really important that we understand where we are in that continuum so we can proceed. And so I see my role as just being here to help and to give advice and to transfer knowledge and just sort of keep my mouth shut as much as possible. Let people do what they are doing.
How's that working so far?
Hey?
How's that working so far?
That's not working so far? Well, it's, I guess what, somebody said earlier in the conference, I'd like to make myself redundant.
So now I'd like to open it to the floor. I invite anyone who would like to come to the microphone in the center of the room and kick us off. In fact, the first person who does it, I'll give you a prize. More than a ballot, an actual prize. Thank you. Oh, should reach to do it. Good. Just for the benefit of everyone in the room, could I ask you to just state your name and whether you're here as part of our unit or a
Hello,
committee
everybody.
or what?
My name's Kevin Marin. I'm with Cuss W 7 years now, been with Hydro One for that amount of time. I'm a nervous speaker, so I'm shaking like a dog here, but... Well, compliments to the room upstairs, it's very nice. But no, I'm currently a workplace rep. Steve does help out quite a bit, but I find, and obviously one of the big themes here is participation. It's been mentioned, so my question is, I get to see a lot of people. What advice would you guys give myself and everybody else in this room? What is the best way, in your guys' opinion, to encourage more people to participate as I travel through and talk to these people? All right, I'm going to sit down, I'm shaking.
Thank you. Do we have someone who'd like to take the lead and answer that? Respond to it?
I'll start it off. Thanks for the question. I guess just being here, everybody being here is the best form of participation. And when we close our convention, taking all the positives that we're going to experience over the next 2 days back into the workplace, just that word of mouth breeds encouragement, and the fact that you actually have a voice and you're allowed to participate. So that would be my advice to you. Spread the good word. You've got 9 disciples of participation up here. So
Okay.
So I guess I'd like to add to that one, don't let the conversation go. If somebody comes to you and wants to know a little about the union, give them a lot of information. Follow that up. Let them know what opportunities are actually out there, right? Worst thing you can do is give a one-word answer, walk away, and never have the conversation again.
Do you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a leader and you're actively attending the meetings, and not if you're a journey person and you're mentoring an apprentice, then grab the apprentice and bring him to the meeting. I mean, to be fair, that's how I came to the first meeting, was working with a journeyman that I had a ton of respect for, and he got me out to the meeting. And then, funny how things work out. There was a steward when John and I were at Darlington, and he picked us up at our house to take us to stewards training one Saturday morning, and lo and behold, ever since then we've been involved. So if you just pick a person, one a month, and bring him to a meeting, I mean, before long you'll find that'll build. But it's better that especially for the young people, that somebody that they respect that'll take them there and then help guide them through. Then there's a better chance of them returning. But I know it worked for us, or not, depending on how you look at it.
I'd like to say to make sure the message is positive too. Put our best foot forward when we're talking and trying to recruit people. Sometimes we're not perfect. We're not, we're people, and sometimes the negative things come out louder than the positive, and we need to tone that back down. And some of my successes, I have kids, and I can encourage them to join and get their friends to join also. So, rely on your family a bit.
If I may, go ahead.
I just have something to add there.
Yeah.
With the members of the Niagara Hamilton unit, we've did very well, and what have we said? Call it voluntold, and it actually works, and the participation picks up that way. It might not be the best way, but it does work.
So I was going to add that a couple of people this morning have referenced a workshop that we had yesterday. So if you were a unit chair or a representative of your national committee or some other designated people, including the National Executive Board, you participated in a pre-convention workshop. One of the activities that the learners did in that workshop yesterday was tackle this question of why don't people participate? And they brainstormed a whole bunch of reasons, and then each small group picked one of them, and they brainstormed a whole bunch of solutions. That document has since been typed up and will be sent out to all of the people who were there yesterday, but if anyone else would like a copy of it, simply let me know your email and I'll make sure you get added to the distribution list. So, Chris, did you want to ask your question?
Before I came to the convention this week, there's lots of work at the Bruce right now for my Bruce A. It's all outage all year. I told the folks what I was doing this weekend, and they said, why are you even doing that? You're missing all this money. You could work every day. I said, I'm going because I want us to have good jobs. And they said, we'd just be a member of another union if Cuss wasn't here. What am I supposed to say to that?
Who would like to
Any suggestions to that kind of attitude?
Who would like to respond? Everybody's looking sideways. It is a tough one.
Yeah, all I can say to that one is good luck. Because we knew this from the other organization. If they ever were able to displace us, those people be wiped out. It'd all be people that were loyal to that organization. Nothing guarantees any transfer when you move to another union, right? So.
And I guess my point was that sometimes they feel our participation is ridiculous, and we're just, that we don't make a difference. And
Yeah.
hard.
Well, and that's why we have Plan A, B, C, D, and E, right? So, the way our structure works, you could lose a bargaining unit, you could lose a contractor. Doesn't mean you lose the collective agreement that regulates the contractors, right? So, I don't really ever run into that question. Nobody brings that one to me. But anyways, yeah, there's a lot of things that don't make that true from a legal point of view.
Okay, anyone else, or are we going to move?
I think the bigger issue is that the unions are under duress in that old model. When someone says they'll just join another union, they'll be in a position where they're joining a union that's going out of business, whether they like it or not. And I think it's an opportunity when we get a question like that to say, that's why CUSW is here, because we're not going out of business. And if you listen to what Tom is saying about diversifying and moving ourselves forward, and we got new employers approaching us every day that want to work with us and want to continue because of the model that we have and the people we have engaged. So someone who's looking at it from a very narrow point of view, that I might have this job tomorrow, should be a little bit wary. And I think we've got an opportunity to talk to them, because things like right-to-work legislation, they're thinking they'll automatically have an opportunity to work in another union. That other union won't exist. Those folks that are in those monopoly union positions where members only belong because they have to belong, and they only get the dues contributions because they have to pay, people will leave them in droves. And we had the opportunity to talk yesterday. The private sector in the United States right now is just about 6% of the workforce in the whole U.S. is union. 6%. So the illusion that there's another union job around the corner from this union job is just wrong, Chris. You know, but we get the opportunity here to have that conversation with ourselves. So when we go back and somebody asks those questions, you can say, just a second. CUSW has an eye on the future, not on today. Why? Hey, why are we doing this? Because we know that we're in a transition to a new era, into a new way. We know, and Tommy said it earlier, and I'm not sure everybody got the point. We have to understand that we as a membership have to be able to survive in that environment where there's open agency shops, and not where we're relying on legislation for our survival. The other unions aren't going there, Chris. They're hoping that they can maintain through political pressure closed shop collective agreements. Southern Ontario is probably the only bastion left in North America, basically, maybe Boston, but no, there's no real places where we can see closed shop collective agreements like we have here. So excellent opportunity for education, excellent opportunity for all of us to take, and thanks for the question, for us to take that message back, that this isn't about surviving today. We built this to build for tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Well, fortunately, we got that one on video, so put a timestamp on that answer, because we can go back to that. Conrad.
First of all, I'd like to apologize for jumping in there. I got a little excited. But I've done a little bit of work with the Southwest Hiring Committee, and I get that question all the time. And when I'm interviewing, these applicants, a lot of them are coming from like IBW, or they'll be coming from other unions because they don't like how they're structured. They don't like how their voice isn't heard. And I explained during the whole interview that CUSW is a platform for that to happen. So that being said, by the time we get to the end of the interview portion, I asked him, well, is CUSW something that you see yourself in? And to say, well, yes, definitely. And then that's when I slide over a list of all the committees, say, where do you see yourself fitting in? And then, they're ready to participate. And that's one of the, I guess, the big tools that I use is just that list of committees to kind of get the point across that, your voice can be heard. So.
Did you have a question, Conrad?
I do.
Okay.
I do have a couple of questions. First question that I had was basically, since the website is one of our main points of contact for new applicants, for members, new and old, do we have a strategy or plan or funds or anything set aside for keeping the website, I guess, modern? Because with the growth that we're experiencing, we are going to need tremendous resources. Like, there are teams specifically put together with other companies that are just for maintaining a web page or just for maintaining the operation of a certain service that the web page has, portals, what have you. I was just curious if that has been a topic of discussion with the growth that you guys are talking about as well.
Okay, Kevin, can I ask you as the liaison to the National Communications Committee to respond to that? I think that's something that they're focusing on.
Yeah, I guess we are focusing on that. There is a budget that's been prepared, and as we evolve and new ideas are brought forward, our budget can be continually requested to the National Executive Board. So there were a few ideas that were brought forth yesterday in yesterday's meeting, and I think Chris Gatto would be a prime example of somebody who has worked to try to modernize bits and pieces of the web page, and we do have resources and funds that are allocated toward that. We sit down annually and we put together a budget plan, and inside of that there is a tremendous amount of money that is available for that. But collectively we need everybody's ideas to be brought forward. So as you participate inside of your unit meetings and you've got ideas and you all have your own communication committees within your units, if they could also reach out to the National Communication Committee, we can help broadcast those ideas and implement those changes. So we just need the participation from everybody.
Okay, Conrad, just to let you know, we have a line for questions, so can I ask you to hold your second one until others have had a chance? Perfect. Archie?
Hi, my name is Archie Wallace. I'm in chair of the Retirees Committee. It's just a simple question. Something Joe mentioned there. It's one term. So for vice president. Correct? Correct. What happens after that term? If Jeff runs the next time and is successful, where do you go?
Where do I go?
Costa Rica.
Vice president. Where does the vice president go?
Scotty can't wait to get rid of me.
I can tell you
Archie,
that. I don't need help,
just to speak directly to your point.
And Joe, just to let you know, we have 2.5 minutes left
Okay,
in our allotted time.
I'll be very short. I'm here to support the transition, and if Jeff doesn't run again, then Jeff will be the support for the person that comes in behind him.
If Jeff runs again,
then there will be no need for a past president, because the president will have gone through the transition and be fully capable of carrying on.
so we lose that experience.
At some point, yeah.
Okay, that's the question. Thank you.
Okay, we have 2 minutes left.
For the record, I never wanted to get rid of him. He didn't talk, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Did you want to ask your next question, Conrad? Okay. 2 minutes left, folks.
I'll try and make it really quick. Basically, the other thing that we have trouble with the hiring committee for the units is the question is, how much work do you have? And Chris actually touched on it. It's just, how can we retain applicant members if there's limited employment? And then, as the nuclear industry continues to gain traction, how can we prepare for a demand of 400 members at once? I was just wondering if the National Executive Board has basically gone over these questions, and if you had any ideas, just so that when I go to the new applicant during the interview, I can give them solid information from the Executive Board, the collective, rather than just what I think is going on.
Okay, Tom, can I ask you to answer that, and just let you know we have 1 minute left? How to ensure we have employment opportunities.
My wife blanks out too when I start talking. It's okay.
No, sorry about that. Could you throw it by me again?
Basically, I was just wondering if the National Executive Board has considered the question of how can we retain applicant members if there's no or limited employment, and then when we have the inrush of 400 positions that need to be 400 positions that need to be filled, how do we meet that? How do we meet that demand?
Well, yeah, I mean, meet the demand is we're going to have to recruit, and
Right.
this is more around for Chris, but we got to go those areas where there are surplus tradespeople and try and get them there. The other thing we've done with some of the applicants is we found places to park them with small contractors and, let's say, rural type contractors until they get through their security clearance, because that's part of the problem is it takes 2-3 months. And and then the other area, quite frankly, around it is targeting First Nations youth, because that's the biggest growing body in Canada, and finding supports to upgrade them so they can get to entry-level apprenticeships and that. But I mean, other than communication or finding spots for those people in the interim, I mean, I think Greg Batty does that a fair bit, is able to take some new applicants, put them to work while they're waiting for process. But that's something we got to do. I mean, Chris has raised it numerous times here. If there's 6 months gap or a year gap before you go back, they've either found another opportunity or they're not interested any longer because they haven't heard anything from us. So that's the only thing I can think of right now is just keeping contact, and then where we have those spots, we push them until we can use them in the other areas.
Perfect, thanks.
Great. Well, I'd like to thank all of the officers and invite you to return to your seats, and I'll turn the reins back over to Jeff and invite our next 3 speakers to come to the on-deck table, please.